What if I told you that the biggest risk to your portfolio isn't the stock market, it's you? Think about it. In 2008, millions of investors bailed out at the bottom, locking in permanent losses. In 2020, others panicked when COVID hit and missed one of the fastest rebounds in history. On the flip side, plenty of people think that cash is safe. But with inflation at 3 or 4%, every year their savings quietly buy less and less. The reality is, most investors don't blow up because of bad stock picks. They blow up because they never match their portfolio to the amount of risk they can actually handle. That's what we're going to fix today. I'm going to walk you through a simple tool called the 3x3 risk matrix. It combines Warren Buffett's definition of risk with practical financial planning. By the end, you'll know exactly which box you land in and which type of portfolio structure fits you best. Stick with me, because once you understand this, you'll be able to invest with confidence through the next bear market, the next recession, or whatever the headlines throw at you. Hello, fellow compounders. I'm your host, Dennis Chen. I'm a CFA charter holder, Wharton MBA, and former hedge fund manager. On this channel, we cut through the noise to help you build wealth that lasts. First, a quick but important disclaimer. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not financial, investment, or tax advice. All tickers and examples are hypothetical and for illustration only. I'm sharing general information and examples, not recommendations tailored to you. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Your situation is unique. Always do your own research and consult a qualified financial professional before making any decisions. All right, let's start with a critical question. Segment 1, what risk really means. Most people think risk means stocks bouncing up and down. Wall Street defines it as volatility, meaning how much prices swing. But Warren Buffett sees it differently. He once said, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. And in his letters and interviews, Buffett has been consistent. Risk isn't volatility. It's the chance of permanent loss of capital, or the chance that you'll fail to meet your goals. That's a huge shift, because a stock that swings like crazy but compounds wealth for 30 years isn't risky. But cash that doesn't keep up with inflation, that's very risky, even if the number in your account doesn't change. So when we talk about risk, I want you to think about 5 different kinds. First, volatility risk. That's the emotional roller coaster of prices moving up and down. Second, permanent loss risk. Owning poor businesses or panic selling can lock in losses forever. Third, inflation risk. The silent killer. Your dollar today may only buy 70 cents of goods 10 years from now. Fourth, liquidity risk. If you don't have enough cash reserves, you may be forced to sell at the worst possible time. And fifth, behavioral risk, the most dangerous of all. It's not the market, it's your emotions. Chasing fads, selling low, trying to time the market. So, risk is much bigger than just numbers on a chart. And that's why we use the 3x3 risk matrix to see how much risk you can actually handle. Now let's see where this idea comes from. Segment 2, the origin of the 3x3 risk matrix. The idea behind this matrix isn't brand new. Financial planners and the CFA curriculum have taught for decades that risk tolerance has 2 sides. 1, your ability to take risk, and 2, your willingness to take risk. What I've done is adapt this into a simple 3x3 grid. Score yourself as low, medium, or high in each, and instantly you'll see your risk zone. And here's the best part. Each box connects to one of our blueprint portfolios. So you don't just know your risk level, you know what kind of portfolio structure you could potentially use. So let's start by scoring your ability to take risk. Segment 3, scoring your ability. Your ability to take risk is about your financial capacity. This is objective. It's about the math, not your emotions. Let's walk through the 4 factors. Number 1, time horizon. How long until you need the money? If you need it in 2 to 3 years, you can't risk a big drop. If you don't need it for 20 or more years, short-term swings won't matter. This matters because markets almost always recover, but only if you give them enough time. We'll score time horizons as follows. 1 point if you have less than 5 years, 2 points for 5 to 20 years, and 3 points for 20 years or more. Number 2, income dependence. Do you rely on your portfolio to cover living expenses? If you're retired and pulling money every month, that's low ability. If you're working and your paycheck covers everything, your portfolio can just grow untouched. Why it matters? If you need to withdraw during a downturn, you might lock in permanent losses. So this is how we score it. 1 point if you're fully reliant on your portfolio for income. 2 points if you're partially reliant, and 3 points if your independent income covers your financial needs. Number 3, liquidity cushion. How much cash or emergency savings do you have? Less than 6 months of expenses? That's risky. A year or 2? That's strong. Why it matters? Liquidity is your shock absorber. Without it, one surprise bill could force you to sell investments at the worst time. Let's score it. 1 point if you have less than 6 months of living expenses saved. 2 points if you have between 6 and 12 months saved. And 3 points if you have 1 to 2 years or more saved. Number 4, debt and obligations. How much do you owe? Big mortgage, loans, tuitions coming up, that reduces your ability to take on risk. What matters? Debt shrinks your flexibility and adds financial stress. This is how we score it. 1 point if you have high debt relative to your assets. 2 points if you have moderate debt, and 3 points if you have low or no debt. Now, add it up. If you have 4 to 6 points, you have low ability. 7 to 9 points, you have medium ability. And 10 to 12 points, you have high ability. That's your financial capacity. Now, let's measure your mindset. Segment 4, scoring your willingness. Your willingness to take risk is about psychology. It's how you feel when markets swing. Let's score yourself with 4 questions. Number 1, emotional response to losses. Imagine your portfolio drops 25%. Do you panic and sell, hold nervously, or see it as a buying opportunity? Here's how we score it. 1 point if you panic and sell. 2 points if you are nervous but hold. And 3 points if you are comfortable holding or even buying more. Number 2, past behavior. Think back to 2008 or 2020. Did you sell when the market fell? Did you cut back or stay invested? Let's score it. 1 point if you sold during downturns. 2 points if you reduced exposure. And 3 points if you stayed invested or added more. Number 3, investment knowledge. Do you understand that 30 to 40% drawdowns are normal? Here's how you score it. 1 point if you have limited knowledge, 2 points if you are somewhat informed, and 3 points if you are well informed. Number 4, the sleep test. Does your portfolio keep you up at night? Let's score it. 1 point if you lose sleep, 2 points if you occasionally worry, and 3 points if you sleep fine regardless. Now, let's total it. 4 to 6 points means low willingness, 7 to 9 points means medium willingness, and 10 to 12 points means high willingness. Segment 5, the 3x3 matrix in action. Before we proceed, I want to remind you that this matrix is a framework for educational purposes. It is a guideline and not specific recommendations for your individual situation. Please consult a financial professional and do your own homework. All right, now comes the fun part. We've scored your ability to take risk, and we've scored your willingness to take risk. Now let's put them together in the 3x3 matrix. Picture a grid with 3 rows and 3 columns. The rows are your ability, low, medium, and high, and the columns are your willingness, low, medium, and high. Where those two intersect, that's your risk zone. Let's walk through all 9 boxes so you can see exactly where you might fit. Row 1, low ability. These are investors with a short runway, heavy reliance on their portfolio, or a thin emergency cushion. Low willingness, very conservative. This is someone who can't afford risk financially and doesn't want it emotionally. Think 20 to 40% stocks, the rest goes into bonds or cash. The blueprint example is a 2-fund income portfolio or a 3-fund income version with real estate. This is all about stability and income. Medium willingness, conservative, balanced. Now the person can tolerate a bit more swing but still has limited ability. Think 40 to 50% stocks with the rest in bonds. The blueprint portfolio is a 2-fund balanced portfolio, just stocks and bonds in a simple split. High willingness, conservative growth. Here you've got someone eager for growth, but their financial situation won't allow too much. So they push it to a 50 to 60% stocks with the rest in bonds and diversifiers. The blueprint portfolio is a 3-fund balanced portfolio, but with a heavier tilt towards bonds. Row 2, medium ability. These are investors with a 5 to 20 year horizons, a decent liquidity cushion, and moderate obligations. Low willingness, defensive balanced. They can afford some risk, but emotionally they prefer safety. So it's a 40 to 50% stocks with the rest in bonds, tips, and maybe real estate. The blueprint is an all-weather style portfolio that spreads bets across different assets. Medium willingness, balanced. This is a classic middle ground. 50 to 65% stocks with the rest in bonds. Blueprint is a classic 3-fund portfolio, US total market, international, and bonds. It's simple, diversified, and time-tested. High willingness, growth balanced. These folks can handle volatility. and they want more upside. Think 65 to 75% stocks, maybe with some satellites like dividend ETFs or REITs. The blueprint portfolio is the core satellite portfolio. 70% core index funds, 30% satellites like SCHD, Berkshire, or Brookfield. Row 3, high ability. These are investors with a long horizon, strong cash cushions, and little dependence on their portfolio. Low willingness, defensive balance. Yes, they could afford more risk, but they can't sleep at night with big swings. So they stick to a 40 to 50% stock allocation. This is the same zone as before, defensive balance, because mindset trumps capacity. Medium willingness, growth. Here the investors can both afford and accept volatility. Think 70 to 80% stocks with bonds as ballast. Blueprint portfolio is the dividend growth portfolio, a mix of dividend growers like SCHD or 20 to 40 quality compounders. High willingness, aggressive growth. This is a classic long-term compounding investor. They've got the financial cushion, the time horizon, and the temperament. So they go 85 to 100% in stocks. The blueprint is the coffee can portfolio, 20 to 30 compounders held over the long term. Or it could be the simple one fund portfolio of the total market using VTI or VT. This is maximum growth, but you have to accept 30 to 50% drawdowns along the way. So there you have it, 9 boxes. Each reflects both your financial reality and your emotional comfort. And remember, the best portfolio isn't the one with the highest return on paper. It's the one that you can actually hold through the next bear market. Now let's bring this matrix to life with a real-world case study. Segment 6, case study, David. Okay, let's make this matrix real with an example. Meet David. David is 45 years old. He's married with 2 kids. He's got about $750,000 invested, and he's saving around $25,000 a year. David's goal is to retire in about 15 to 20 years. He also has a mortgage, and those big college tuition bills are coming up for his kids. So, where does David land on the matrix? Let's score him together. Ability first. Time horizon, 15 to 20 years. That's 2 points. Income dependence. He's still working and covers most expenses, but he might need small withdrawals down the road. That's another 2 points. Liquidity cushion. About 9 months of expenses saved in cash. That's 2 points. Debt and obligations. Mortgage plus tuition bills. Another 2 points. Add it all up, and David's ability score is 8 points. That puts him in the medium ability row. Now, willingness. Emotional response. David says that the downturns don't scare him. He sees them as buying opportunities. That's 3 points. Past behavior. In 2020, during COVID crash, David stayed invested and even added more. Another 3 points. Investing knowledge. He studies markets, understands compounding, and knows volatility is normal. That's 3 more points. Sleep test. He sleeps fine at night, even when markets are bumpy. That's another 3 points. Add it all up, and David's willingness score is 12 points. That puts him in the high willingness column. So where does that land him? Medium ability, high willingness. That's the growth balance box on our matrix. Now, what does that look like in practice? Around 70% in stocks, say 50% in US total market fund, and 20% international. About 20% in bonds, a mix of treasuries and investment grade corporates for stability, and 10% in satellites, things like SCHD, REITs, or long-term compounders like Berkshire Hathaway and Brookfield. Now, let's stress test it. What if David went more aggressive, say 100% in stocks? Well, the next 30% drawdown could hit right when tuition bills come due. This could force him to sell at the worst possible time. And what if he went too conservative? Say 40% in stocks. Then he might not get the growth he needs to hit for his retirement target. That's why the growth balance mix is David's sweet spot. It balances his financial reality with his emotional tolerance. Now, David fits neatly into a box, but not everyone does. So let's talk about some edge cases you might run into. Segment 7, common edge cases. 3 common situations: high ability, low willingness. You can afford more risk, but your emotions say no. Play it safer with a defensive balance mix. More bonds and diversifiers so you can sleep well at night. Low ability, high willingness. You want risk, but you can't afford it yet. Respect your runway. Stick with a conservative balance mix until your financial cushion improves. When goals don't match your mix, if your plan requires higher returns than your box supports, you only have 3 levers: save more, work longer, or accept more volatility. So, how do you put this into action right now? Segment 8, action plan. All right, So now you've scored yourself, you know your ability, you know your willingness, and you know which box on the 3x3 matrix you land in. The question is, what do you do with it? Let me give you a simple 5-step action plan. Step 1, write down your scores. Don't just keep them in your head. Grab a notepad or use the worksheet I'll link below. When you write it down, you make it real. Step 2, circle your box. Find a row that matches your ability and a column that matches your willingness. That's your risk zone. And just seeing it on paper is powerful. It takes all the noise and simplifies it into one box. Step 3, match it to a portfolio. In this video, I gave you blueprint portfolio for each box. That way, you're not starting from scratch. You can model your allocation directly after one that fits your risk zone. Step 4, set your guardrails. This is where most investors fail. Not in picking a portfolio, but in sticking to it. Set clear rules now. That means an annual rebalance rule, drift bands like plus or minus 10%, and a cash buffer for emergencies. At least 6 months of expenses, more if you're retired. These rules keep you on track when emotions try to knock you off course. Step 5, put it in your IPS. Your investment policy statement is your personal contract with yourself. It says, here's my portfolio, here's why I own it, and here's how I'll manage it. When the market crashes, and it will, you don't need to guess or panic. You just follow the plan you already wrote. Remember this, plan beats predictions and process beats headlines. No one knows what the market will do next week or next month. But if you've got a plan and you've matched your portfolio to the risk you can actually handle, you'll be in a position to survive the storms and keep compounding. And that's the whole game. Stay invested, stay calm, and always be compounding. Now, here's how to go one step further. If you want a free worksheet of the 3x3 matrix mapped to the blueprint portfolios, you can find it in the free resource space in the Always Be Compounding online community. You can join for free. The link is in the description below. And if you'd like to go deeper, join me for Coffee with the Chief Compounder or live Q&A sessions where you can bring your questions. Use the code ONEFREECOFFEE for a free month. If this video was useful, hit like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. And remember, the key to building wealth is to always be compounding. See you in the next video. Take care.